Every day it feels like we're inching closer and closer to a return to Disney parks opening worldwide. And with that, we're going to get our first look at what a park might look like in this new environment that we live in. And not just words, we've got actual video now. Disney has released this video, which shows guests what to expect when the gates do open. So let's watch and talk about what we see. There it is, Shanghai Disney. To protect the health and safety of our guests and cast members, Shanghai Disneyland will operate with limited attendance and advanced reservations. That means no walk-ups. As I understand it, the first day, the 11th, is sold out in a couple hours last night. You can still get a ticket for the weekdays right now, I think, but I also think the weekend is sold out already too. So the demand is high, but it's not so high that they're completely selling everything out. You know, you can still get a ticket. Interesting. So you get a QR code, and that's basically your ticket. You can't just show up with your AP or something like that. And annual pass holders must also make an advanced reservation and get a QR code. Again, you can't just walk up there with your pass and expect to get in. All right, so obviously got to have a valid ID. That's not uncommon. I would expect this. Now you also need to have a green health QR code. Now this is China. Without getting too much into this conversation because it can get a little political, I don't think that's going to happen here in the States. I don't expect them to be able to have that kind of policy in place. Got to wear a face mask. That is required, except when dining. Which makes sense, obviously. Now here's our first look at how those markings that we saw before are going to function. Strangely, and it's just so weird that you walk or you stand in between the markings as opposed to on the markings. Everything that we know here suggests that you're supposed to stand on the thing that they're marking. So it's a bit curious, but I mean, I guess once you get used to it, it's fine. Especially if that's the way you've always done it. Then you're going to walk through a tent. This is before bag check. And those things right there are temperature scanners, and they're just super quick and easy. That looks really fluid. I didn't know it was this easy to do. You have to have a temperature, according to this, of under or 37.3 degrees Celsius or under. That's 99.14 degrees Fahrenheit for those of us here in the States. Then you get your QR code scanned in a fairly open way. They're just guests there or CMs there with scanners. Then we do a bag check, which looks just like the bag checks that we have today. More things to stand and wait on. They are going to have you check your ID as you go through a turnstile. ID has to match your QR code, etc. This is really good signaling right here. I like that they're showing these guests taking a selfie with their face masks on. It says, don't take your face masks off, basically. Keep them on all the time, no matter what. Note, though, that they're not promoting 6 feet for guests in the same traveling party. These are friends or family, obviously. And they're not trying to say your friends or family have to also be 6 feet away from you. Go ahead and be chummy with them. Just keep your distance from strangers. Now, they're saying that most rides are going to be open, but with limited capacity. Lots of space in this queue. This is the Pirates of the Caribbean queue. Lots of space here. Note here that the CM is instructing them to stand on these markings on the rail, not on the ground. That's interesting. They've also skipped a complete switchback, which is good. That promotes more distance. And then as we get on the ride vehicle, every other row is being occupied. Note again, they're not asking you to keep a space between you and people in your traveling party. If you're in your group, you can sit together with your group. Now that's a big boat. What about smaller ride vehicles like Buzz Lightyear? They're saying, it's interesting, I didn't, at first my assumption was 1 guest per vehicle, but it says each vehicle will only be allowed to hold 1 party traveling together. So again, you can be paired with somebody, with 2 people in a vehicle. I don't know how you could, I guess what they're saying is they're not going to board 2 singles together, which seems likely. They wouldn't do that anyway, normally. Okay, so you got hand sanitizers at the exit of each vehicle. And this is cool. We had been told no character meet and greets, and this isn't exactly a meet and greet, but you can still see and observe these characters. I find this adorable, actually. Okay, so you get to stand from a distance and wave at them, and I don't know. I kind of like that. I enjoy that, and I hope to be able to do something like that in the future. Maybe that's because I'm not the kind of person who normally does meet and greets anyway. So that's all I want is to see a character and for them to recognize me, see me, acknowledge me, and wave at me. That's good enough for me. All right, when you go to a restaurant, don't sit on the tables with the red signs. That's again to promote, spacing between the groups, which seems logical. I wasn't sure what method they would use. This seems to be a fairly easy thing to do. And now again, though, they're not requiring anybody. You could just sit with your traveling party. No distance required here. When shopping, they're asking guests to touch only those items that you are planning to purchase. They're encouraging you to use forms of payment that don't require touch. So I'm assuming it's something like an app that they can just scan through your phone or something to that effect. And that's it. Another magical day at Disneyland is complete. You can have removals for your disposable face masks, obviously, on the way out. But yeah, that's it. That's what they have in store for us, guys. That's kind of a complete rundown, it would seem. I don't know what else they could do, what else they might have in store. If anything, Disneyland might even be less than this, like I mentioned with the QR code for the health QR code. But I think that's a pretty good first look at what to expect. Now, here's what's interesting. Some might look at this video and say, well, that is really, really great. We have a plan. It's not perfect, but there's a plan in place, and I feel like maybe I can go back to the parks and feel safe again. Others, though, might look at this and say, well, that doesn't seem very magical at all. It takes away all of that, well, not all of it, some of the joy, some of the spark that we feel when we're in the park. It feels more clinical, or it looks more clinical and less magical. But the bottom line, in my opinion, is this. This is good news. This is a plan. It is a start. If it's not for you, if you're not enjoying that, then that's okay. You just don't have to go. No, they're not saying you have to go under these conditions. But if you want to try to go to Disneyland again, there's something for you. This is better than no park at all for those guests who are, as I mentioned, willing and ready and able to take on that kind of experience. I know the inclination is to sort of blame Disney for making it the way it is, but it's not their fault. This reality, this pandemic is not Disneyland's fault, and they're trying their best, I think, to make it possible for us to go. So you tell us, Fresh Baked, what do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Until then, thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already and hit the notification bell. You can do that and also follow us on our personal vlog at The Royal Dorks. There are links below in the description and on our main channel page. Otherwise, thanks for watching again, and Fresh Baked.